Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tang Men based on novel. So let's start. Yes, that was a 100-meter tall bear. Its appearance had sent all the spectral creatures, including the fearsome skeleton dragon, which was flying high up in the sky, scurrying away. It was almost as if it were the king of the world of the undead. And that was, in fact, the truth. The gigantic bear only stopped after it reached the spot where the group was gathered. Now that it was nearer to them, the elders could feel how strong its soul power was. In fact, it was radiating more than just soul power, it was also emanating a dense spectral aura. Little Bai waved its hand as the gigantic bear lowered its body. Little Bai leapt onto the bear's shoulder before the gigantic bear stood up again. Following which, it leaned its body forward as though it was bowing to Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao nodded to acknowledge the bow from the bear. Following which, he turned to the elders and smiled. This gigantic bear was Little Bai's original physical form. Previously, Little Bai and I did our spirit fusion in the spectral demiplane. It was during that time when Little Bai's body started to change for unknown reasons. It somehow managed to remain alive. As a result, I was not able to acquire his soul bone. But in return, this made it even stronger than before. Now, it is the strongest fighter in my spectral demiplane. It is the true king of this place, and hence, I am certain that our soul masters will not come to any harm under its protection. Huo Yuhao had given Little Bai's body the name Bai. Of course, it was named this way simply out of convenience. Previously, when Bai was struck by the lightning, it managed to absorb the spectral aura in the spectral demiplane and form its own spiritual fire. Of course, its spiritual fire was formed from the remnants left by Little Bai when he transferred his spirit to Huo Yuhao. The main reason why Huo Yuhao did not take the soul bone from Little Bai's body was because the soul bone had become a source of energy for Bai. After these 2 years, Bai had already gained a stronghold in the spectral plane. Just as Huo Yuhao had described, he had already become the king of the spectral demiplane. Because Bai and Little Bai were connected by heart, even if Huo Yuhao was not in the spectral demiplane, he could monitor Bai's situation through Little Bai. Hence, it would not be a problem for him to take care of and protect the army, which would be placed in the spectral demiplane in the future. Elder Song nodded and said, "Yuhao, your demiplane is truly amazing. After seeing how things work in your demiplane, I am willing to support your suggestion." "Thank you, Elder Song." Huo Yuhao hastily thanked Elder Song. Subsequently, the rest of the elders all nodded in agreement as they gave their consent to Huo Yuhao's plan. To be honest, other than Huo Yuhao's unorthodox method, none of them had any idea that could bring hope to the current situation. Even though the Shrek Academy was very strong, it would still be very difficult for them to resist the armies of the Sun Moon Empire if they were to launch an attack against them. Furthermore, it would be impossible for the Sun Moon Empire to let go of Shrek Academy, especially after what they had done previously to replace the Sun Moon continent's name with Doluo continent. The hatred the Sun Moon Empire had for Shrek Academy had become one which concerned the pride of the Sun Moon Empire. Hence, Shrek Academy could only stand on the opposing side of the Sun Moon Empire. There was simply no other option. During these few years, Shrek Academy had made tremendous advancements in terms of their development of soul tools. Hence, many of the higher-ups in Shrek Academy recognized the power and importance of soul tools. Shrek Academy might have improved their powers tremendously by researching and harnessing the power of soul tools during these few years, but one could only imagine how much stronger the Sun Moon Empire would be, considering how much longer they had dabbled in soul tools. Because the development of soul tool was exponential, their powers could only exceed Shrek Academy's original calculations. Hence, the Academy definitely did not possess the confidence that it would win its battle with the Sun Moon Empire. An unorthodox strategy was required to be victorious. Hence, Huo Yuhao's plan was the most convincing strategy in the eyes of the elders. In fact, that was probably the only way they could turn the tables. While the Sun Moon Empire definitely had their weaknesses, it would not be easy to expose them on the actual battlefield. After leaving the spectral demiplane, the Sea Gods Pavilion conference resumed. The atmosphere in the conference was visibly more optimistic. It was undeniable that the existence of the spectral demiplane had become Shrek Academy's trump card to go up against the Sun-Moon Empire. Amongst the powerful elders, some of them were particularly skilled in the art of war. Those elders started to offer suggestions to further improve Huo Yuhao's plan. It took them an entire day before the conference ended. Shrek Academy made the final decision to mobilize the 3 Soul Engineer Legions and adhere to Huo Yuhao's plan. The Academy would not be sending any higher-ups to participate in this operation. Instead, they would be heading to the front lines of the Heavenly Soul Empire to deceive the troops from the Sun-Moon Empire. This operation would mainly be organized by the Tang sect. The powerful cultivators from the Tang sect would leave their nest and take action against the Sun-Moon Empire. After their discussions, it was time for the preparatory work. They had also decided on the mobilization time, the time when the Sun-Moon Empire planned to move out. The 3 Soul Engineer Legions from Shrek Academy and the Tang sect consisted of the Tang sect Soul Engineer Legion, the Heavy Artillery Soul Engineer Legion, and the Fort Soul Engineer Legion. Amongst the 3 legions, the Tang sect Soul Engineer Legion had the fewest number of people. However, it was formed from their elite Soul Masters. The commander of the Tang sect Soul Engineer Legion was originally Xian Lina. Furthermore, there were about 10 titled Doluor in the entire Tang sect Soul Engineer Legion. However, Shrek Academy had decided after the conference to not participate in this operation directly. Hence, the 10 titled Doluor would not remain within the Legion. This meant that the Tang sect Soul Engineer Legion would now be led by new commanders. The new commander would be Bei Bei, while the vice commander would be Shusansha. Jiang Nan Nan and the other powerful cultivators of the Tang sect were also moved into this legion. Their total number would be 200 Soul Masters. Every single one of them was at least a Soul Emperor. It was difficult even for the Sun-Moon Empire to organize a legion with members at this level. The commander of the Heavy Artillery Soul Engineer Legion was Huo Yuhao, while its vice commander was Tang Wutong. They were commanding a legion of 1,000 Soul Masters, or rather Soul Engineers. They were equipped with 300 top-class huge Juga divine crossbow cannons. They were all Class 6 Soul tools, and required their Soul Engineers to be at least Class 4 to utilize them. These cannons were all equipped with large amounts of stationary Soul Cannon shells. The last legion was formed from 1,500 Soul Masters with relatively weaker cultivations. Their minimum cultivation level was a 3-ringed Soul Elder. Their commander was Kaitu, while their vice commander was Xiao Xiao. They were equipped with 300 of Xian, Zuan's personally redesigned all-terrain self-driving forts. These 3 Soul Engineer Legions were all built painstakingly by the Shrek Academy over 2 years. Actually, these legions had already started to take shape a year ago. Since then, they had been training hard and receiving improved equipment. Right now, they had started to become a formidable force, and would be the main fighting force for Huo Yuhao's plan. When it came to surprise attacks, the quality of the soldiers was more important than quantity. In the military drill ground near the perimeter of Shrek City, the military drill ground seemed to have been transformed into a metallic forest, as it emanated a scary aura. There were close to 3,000 Soul Masters, 300 Juga divine crossbow cannons, and 300 all-terrain self-driving forts. Every single Soul Master in the 3 legions was overwhelmed with excitement. They were finally going to enter the battlefield after having trained for 2 long years. They had trained hard every single day, as they tried their best to master their soul tools. In fact, many of them had once participated in the battle against the Great Star Do Forest during the Beast Wave to protect Shrek City. They were the true elite forces of Shrek City. The truth was that these 3 legions had pretty much expended half of Shrek City's financial resources. Now, they were finally going to leave Shrek City to fight their formidable foe. Everyone wished they could become famous in this battle. Everyone wished to leave their beautiful name in the history books. There was no doubt that the war against the Sun-Moon Empire was going to be a big opportunity for many people. All the higher-ups of the Tang sect, including Bei Bei, He Kaitu, Shusansha, Jiang Nan Nan, Xiao Xiao, Huo Yuhao, Tang Wutong, Yi Gai, Nan Qiuqiu, Ji Juechen, and Jing Ziyan, were all dressed in their military gear as they observed their soldiers from the observation deck. Xian Ziwen had gotten Nana and Gao Delu to stay at the Tang sect with him to ensure the continuation of daily operations. Other than them, pretty much all of the higher-ups in Tang sect had been mobilized. The three commanders of the legions had all agreed that Huo Yuhao would lead them. Bei nodded towards Huo Yuhao and said, "You should say a few words." As the chief commander, Huo Yuhao knew it was not the time to back down from such things. After taking a few steps forward, Huo Yuhao looked at the thousands of soul masters who were standing beneath him. "I am Huo Yuhao. I believe everyone already knows what kind of operation we are about to commence against the Sun Moon Empire. I only have one request for all of you. I need all of you to listen to the orders being issued. Regardless of what you see and discover after this, you must adhere to the orders which have been given to you. If we are able to emerge victorious and succeed, our names will all be engraved in the glorious history of the Doluo continent. I believe all of you already know that I was the one who started the Spirit Pagoda from scratch. I can assure all of you that after we have completed this operation, all of you will get spirit transmission priority. This battle goes beyond defending the pride of our academy. At the same time, it is about defending our country and our homeland. I believe many of you here come from the Heavenly Soul Empire. You should all be familiar with its current situation. We can't watch our country be ravaged in this war without doing anything. We must put in effort to defend our country." Huo Yuhao was not using a sound-amplifying soul tool, but his voice echoed in everyone's minds. His powerful spiritual energy was able to envelop the entire military drill ground. "Our strategy will be different from everything you have known. I call it the teleportation tactic. Now, I will use my ability to allow all of you to rest in another world. All you have to do is rest up and get ready for the upcoming fight." As he finished his speech, 8 soul rings started to form around his body. Because of the appearance of the Spirit Pagoda, Huo Yuhao had long attained legendary status. But few people had actually witnessed him releasing his martial soul. The Spirit Eyes had 7 rings, while the Ice Jade Empress Scorpion had 8. The rings of 2 different colors interchanged as they shone brilliantly. In the next instant, Huo Yuhao transformed into a gigantic eye that was floating in mid-air. A deep melodic chanting sound began as the higher-ups, who were waiting on the observation deck, returned to their legions. The Eye of the Azura. Yes, this was the Eye of the Azura. The soul masters from the 3 different legions were all screaming inside with excitement. 9 huge black doors slowly opened before the observation deck. Actually, this was not the limit of Huo Yuhao's ability. It was just unnecessary for him to use all of his abilities. "Get ready to enter." Huo Yuhao's voice reverberated across the military drill ground. The Heavy Artillery Soul Engineer Legion, the least mobile legion, was the first to move. They also happened to be the unit under Huo Yuhao. Under the control of the Soul Engineers, the 300 Juga divine crossbow cannons rolled towards the huge doors. After the repeated improvements Xian Ziwen had made, these crossbow cannons now had tracks. When necessary, they were able to use their stored soul power to drive themselves forward. Even though their speed was still fairly limited, it was a lot better than having to rely on human strength all the time. It took a whole 10 minutes for the 300 crossbow cannons to fully enter the black doors into the spectral demiplane. While they were slowly entering, 200 figures had already activated their flying-type soul tools and were levitating in mid-air. This was none other than the Tang Sect Soul Engineer Legion, the only legion which possessed flight capabilities. The 4th Soul Engineer Legion spread out into a fan shape as every single all-terrain self-driving fort fully extended their long legs. Compared to the Heavy Artillery Soul Engineer Legion, they were a lot more agile and mobile. They formed a fan shape and guarded the 9 huge doors as though they were the sweepers of the team. A few people stood at a corner of the military drill ground. As they watched the scene unfold before them, they could not help but nod. After these 2 years of rigorous training, these 3 legions now finally possessed true fighting power. It would depend on the commander as to how they would actually perform on the battlefield. After the Heavy Artillery Soul Engineer Legion entered, it was the 4th Soul Engineer Legion's turn. They were a lot faster, and it took them only 4 minutes to enter. Last but not least was the Tang Sect Soul Engineer Legion. They flew in from the top in an organized fashion, and only took 2 minutes. In total, the 3 legions, which contained 2,700 people, took 16 minutes to completely enter Huo Yuhao's spectral demiplane. If one were to add in the time which Huo Yuhao used to chant the incantations, they would have used 20 minutes in total. This meant that they would be able to retreat from anywhere in 20 minutes. This was definitely contingent on Huo Yuhao's ability to escape detection, which had already been tested during his countless forays on the battlefield. After the 9 black doors were closed, the military drill ground returned to its formerly quiet state. One could only tell that there were many soul masters here previously from the tracks the heavy artillery and forts left on the ground. The eye of the Azura morphed back into Huo Yuhao's figure. After landing on the ground, he moved towards the group of individuals who were standing under the tree at the corner of the military drill ground. The leader amongst them was none other than Elder Xian. The 2 deans, Yang Xiaozhe and Xian Lina, were standing by his side. Elder Xian. Huo Yuhao greeted politely. Elder Xian nodded and said, "The ball is now in your court. Let's hope you can give us a much-needed miracle." Huo Yuhao smiled. "I am confident that we can pull it off. We will also have to depend on all of you for the battle at the front line." Elder Xian replied, "The Sun Moon Empire might be strong, but do you really think the 3 original empires of the Doluo continent are a joke? It won't be that easy for them to invade us. Anyways, I just received an update this morning. Just as we have predicted, the Sun Moon Empire's army has already entered what was formerly the land of the Heavenly Soul Empire. They are now moving towards the southeast region of the Heavenly Soul Empire." Huo Yuhao started to break out into a sweat. It seems like time really waits for no man. At the same time, the figure of a lady fleeted into his mind. "Juzi, are you still the commander leading the Sun Moon Empire's army? I really don't want to bump into you on the battlefield. Yuhao, you can start moving out. Regardless of whether or not you succeed, do your best to bring them back." Elder Xian instructed Huo Yuhao as he gave him a pat on the shoulder. "Yes." Huo Yuhao answered politely. Following which, he bowed goodbye to both Yang Xiaozhe and Xian Lina before flying up into the air. Then, he vanished as he sped towards the Sun Moon Empire. It would take time for the 3 legions to familiarize themselves with and accept their surroundings within the spectral demiplane. However, Huo Yuhao did not have to be overly concerned with these things. The other higher-ups of the Tang sect had taken up the responsibility to brief the legions on the spectral demiplane. Also, he had already gotten a buy to chase away the spectral creatures and create a camping area for the 3 legions. At the very least, the Soul Masters would not be able to see any spectral creatures near their camping area. This would naturally make things smoother. Even though they had only left in the morning, by noontime, they had already arrived at the Mingdo mountain range, because of how fast Huo Yuhao was flying. However, the White Tiger Duke was not at the Mingdo mountain range where the Sun Moon Empire's western army was camping. Instead, he had already led his elite troops to the north of the Star Luo Empire. This time round, the Sun Moon Empire did not conceal the route they were taking. Hence, the Star Luo Empire were also beginning to make preparations after receiving the news of their impending attack. Of course, there were still plenty of troops which camped at the Mingdo mountain range, including 5 legions. Other than the troops, Princess Jojo was also here. "Yuhao, how come you're here?" Princess Jojo was extremely happy to see Huo Yuhao. As time passed, Huo Yuhao had started to gain the recognition and acknowledgement of the higher-ups in the different empires after showcasing his abilities. Besides, Huo Yuhao was still holding out for the title of Duke of the Star Luo Empire. After sitting down with Princess Jojo in the tent, Huo Yuhao asked, "Your Highness, do you have the latest news?" Princess Jojo said, "I do have some news, but it might not be extremely accurate. The only thing that is certain is that the Sun Moon Empire has assembled over 300,000 soldiers for their armies. It seems like all of them have been transported into the Heavenly Soul Empire. From the looks of it, they are probably going to link up with the troops that are already within the Heavenly Soul Empire. As to what they will do next, we have no reliable intelligence on that. Nowadays, there were linked soul tools wherever soul tools were stationed in the Sun Moon Empire. These linked soul tools could perform both offensive and defensive operations. When it came to their offensive capabilities, they could kill a titled Doloor in a split second. This was why linked soul tools were extremely scary. Because of their overwhelming power, even the powerful body sect could not stop the advance of the Sun Moon Empire. Because the Sun Moon Empire had stepped up their security at the Mingdo mountain range, neither the White Tiger Duke nor Princess Jojo could do anything to the Sun Moon Empire. If a large army were to attempt to penetrate these lines of soul tools, they would still be able to do so. Nonetheless, they would have to deal with large numbers of casualties. In addition, they would not know what kind of security would be stationed in an ambush position due to the impossibility of doing any form of reconnaissance. Falling into an ambush after sustaining heavy losses from penetrating the thick lines of soul tools would be a cost even the Star Luo Empire could not undertake. Hence, the White Tiger Duke opted to defend the Mingdo mountain range instead of taking the risk to attack. Huo Yuhao's spiritual detection was ultimately limited, and could only detect a large party of troops. He could not get a complete picture of all the troops near the perimeter of the Sun Moon Empire. Nonetheless, this would not affect his mission. Of course, Huo Yuhao would not be foolish enough to attack those aerial surveillance tools. He would simply become a target for the soul tools lined up beneath him. In fact, they would not even have to take aim at him. They simply had to shoot upwards into the sky, and he would be in an extremely precarious position. One must remember that Huo Yuhao was not fighting alone. After going around the Sun Moon Empire's surveillance tools, Huo Yuhao flew straight into the Sun Moon Empire. He went straight to the nearest station, where the Sun Moon Empire had set up a series of soul tools. He went up to them in an extremely delicate fashion, before circling to the back of the area. He took a moment to use his spiritual detection to analyze the landscape of this station, before finding a gap to get closer to them. From his spiritual detection, Huo Yuhao was able to tell that this station had over 100 offensive soul tools and several types of soul tools, which could help with surveillance, defense and auxiliary work. Outside of the station, there were 5,000 normal soldiers, who were tasked with defending this soul tool formation. The interior of the station was primarily manned by a few soul engineers. Their numbers were not very large, just over 100 people. It was apparent that the soul tools were running on sealed milk bottles. The soul engineers simply had to control their daily consumption. After all, the most demanding soul tools were the offensive and defensive ones, and they did not have to be operated that often. After surveying the surroundings of this station, Huo Yuhao silently crept away, and retreated to a blind spot where the Sun Moon Empire's surveillance soul tools would not be able to detect him. He chanted a few incantations and opened his spectral demiplane. After entering the demiplane, Huo Yuhao met up with his companions and shared his plan. After listening to his plan, all of them agreed to it, and the 9 black doors soon opened in an inconspicuous forest, and the heavy artillery started to roll out. Yes, it was none other than Huo Yuhao's heavy artillery soul engineer legion. The 300 Zhuge divine crossbow cannons were able to line up in an organized fashion very quickly, as they waited for orders to be issued. It was only now that they realized they had already arrived at the Sun Moon Empire in such a short amount of time. They were feeling both excited and amazed by this revelation. The higher-ups of the Tang sect also emerged from the spectral demiplane. Tang Wutong naturally moved to Huo Yuhao's side. Huo Yuhao announced, "I want everyone to get ready to attack. Eldest senior brother, Wutong and I will head over to the station where the soul tools are. After sabotaging them, we will immediately return." Bei Bei nodded and said, "All right. Take care." Huo Yuhao held Tang Wutong's hand as he activated imitation. He started to creep towards the place where the soul tools were stationed. The soul tools stationed in that area were in fact very sensitive. However, their surveillance ability was limited to a certain range. To put it simply, their surveillance was useless on soldiers outside those ranges, hence, those surveillance soul tools were primarily used to keep watch on movement in the sky. When it came to watching the ground, that was the responsibility of the aerial surveillance soul tools. After Huo Yuhao's spiritual power evolved again, oscillation detectors were no longer useful against him. He could use his spiritual power to detect any oscillation waves that were headed in his direction. He was also able to use his ultimate ice to change the temperature around him to avoid detection by thermal detectors. Hence, it was extremely hard for any soul tools to detect him. He was only vulnerable to the extremely rare spiritual power detectors and soul power detectors. These two detectors were extremely limited, as they could only detect fluctuations within an extremely short range. Hence, Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong could enter the camp of the normal soldiers without being detected. Right now, it was the middle of the afternoon. After lunch, the 5,000 soldiers were taking their afternoon breaks. The lives of soldiers tended to be a lot more relaxed when they were not in the middle of a war. Their routine usually included some training in the morning, breaks in the afternoon and patrols in the evening. As they went through the camp, they started to get closer to the place where the soul tools were stationed. Yuhao, what should we do now? Other than this, the Sun Moon Empire has strengthened their defenses at the borders of their land. In fact, they have placed at least 2 Soul Engineer Legions on the other side of the Mingdo mountain range to supplement their aerial surveillance soul tools and existing troops. With their new setup, we can't even send a fly in to do any reconnaissance work. Yuhao, since you are here already, do you mind helping us do some reconnaissance work? Even though he was looking into the princess's hopeful eyes, Huo Yuhao shook his head and replied, Your Highness, I am sorry, but I do have another mission at hand. However, I can help you solve some of your reconnaissance problems. Following which, Huo Yuhao gave her a sly smile. Princess Jojo seemed to have caught what Huo Yuhao was hinting as she said, that would be great. However, I must let you know how sly their surveillance soul tools have become. They do not only possess a greater range, but also greater mobility and speed. They will flee the moment they detect any dubious movement. At the same time, the other soul tools in the area will stop any attempt from the enemy to intercept the surveillance soul tool. Hence, this will be a challenging task. We have tried to use soul cannon shells to bomb the surveillance soul tools multiple times, to no avail. Huo Yuhao said, these are probably the best prevention methods they can employ. But rest assured, I have my ways. Even though I won't be able to destroy all of them, I am confident I can take down at least some of them. Princess Jojo was evidently excited by Huo Yuhao's reply. That would be great. If we can give the Sun Moon Empire some pressure from here, the battle at the front line will be a lot easier for our people. Huo Yuhao said, then I shall begin to make my move. Afterwards, we will be inserting ourselves into the Sun Moon Empire to continue our battle. Goodbye, Your Majesty. After bidding her goodbye, both Huo Yuhao and Princess Jojo stood up. She moved closer to Huo Yuhao and looked at him with an inexplicable look. She said, Yuhao, you are truly the most outstanding youth I've ever seen. The Star Luo Empire will forever be your home. As long as you wish for it, the Empire can give you all the honor and glory you might want. Huo Yuhao smiled. In that case, if this operation were to be completed successfully, I shall return to ask for the title of Duke from Your Majesty. Princess Jojo was a little shocked by Huo Yuhao's request. It was not the first time that he had asked about this title. However, he had never asked for anything other than the title, not even a plot of land. Why is he so persistent about the title? Of course, it was still more reassuring to know that he wanted something, instead of not wanting anything at all. Shu Jojo said, Yuhao, what is your mission actually about? Can you tell me? Huo Yuhao hesitated for a short while before replying, I am leading some troops to perform a sabotage operation within the Sun Moon Empire, just like the Duke did previously. If we succeed, I am confident that we can threaten the foundation of the Sun Moon Empire and alleviate the pressure on our troops at the front line. It was apparent that the White Tiger Duke had not informed Shu Jojo of this plan. After hearing Huo Yuhao's words, Shu Jojo was very much taken aback. You are going to bring an entire army into the Sun Moon Empire. Are they from the Shrek City Defense Army? Huo Yuhao nodded and replied, pretty much. However, they are stronger than the defense army. I don't think it would be appropriate for me to reveal any more information. I just hope I can bring back good news soon. All right. I'll see you around, Your Highness. Shu Jiujiu saw Huo Yuhao to the edge of the main peak, and watched him take off until his figure disappeared in the sky. Her emotions, which had been suppressed for the past few days, seemed to have relaxed a little. She clenched her fists and muttered to herself, "Good luck, Yuhao." Of course, Huo Yuhao would not share the secret of his spectral demiplane with Shu Jiujiu. Even though there would be a lot of people who would learn of his spectral plane after the war ended, he still believed he should keep it a secret, at least for the time being. As he became stronger, some of the things that he had to be extremely careful with before could now be treated with less caution. As a faint glow flashed on his body, Huo Yuhao projected an ice-cold beam from his face. While he was flying, he had already unleashed his spiritual detection ability to search for the Sun Moon Empire's surveillance soul tools, which were hiding somewhere in the sky. The current surveillance soul tool setup used by the Sun Moon Empire was very different from the one they had used previously. These soul tools were completely separated and spaced out. Even though they were able to cover a huge range, their arrangement was not in an extremely predictable pattern. In fact, the Sun Moon Empire had employed a dual surveillance method by performing surveillance from both the land and the air. The overlapping of their surveillance range would increase the chances of detecting enemy movement and guaranteed better safety. Almost every surveillance soul tool was protected by a soul tool on the land, and the aerial surveillance soul tools were also acting as a radar for the soul tools on the ground. Hence, it could be said that they were highly complementary and would help improve their security to a huge extent. Huo Yuhao replied, "There are only about 100 soul engineers inside. The strongest one is but a 7-ringed soul sage. I believe he has yet to attain the level of a Class 7 soul engineer. Nonetheless, this area is enveloped by surveillance from soul power detectors and spiritual power detectors. The soul engineers in this area must be carrying some sort of pass, which allows them to roam around without being mistaken as an enemy. We would probably get found out the moment we stepped into the area. However, the soul tools in this area seem to be heavy weapons. Even though they might be very destructive and can activate the powers of Link soul tools, they probably won't be able to unleash their powers within the area." Tang Wutong immediately caught what Huo Yuhao was hinting at. "We are going to rush in." Huo Yuhao flashed her a smile. "What are we waiting for? Let's go." After he finished his sentence, Huo Yuhao grabbed Tang Wutong's hand and dashed into the area like a lightning bolt. His eyes turned brilliant golden the moment he stepped into the area where the soul tools were stationed. Huo Yuhao might have twin martial souls and an ultimate strength martial soul, but the most frightening thing about him was not his fighting power. It was his invincible reconnaissance ability. Even though there were plenty of surveillance soul tools and even some spiritual power detectors within the area, they were unable to stop Huo Yuhao's ability from scanning the entire camp. Huo Yuhao immediately grasped the locations of all the different soul engineers within this area. This information would be extremely helpful for his subsequent actions. The place that Huo Yuhao had chosen to enter first was the resting area for the soul engineers, who were in charge of protecting and controlling the soul tools. The resting area was placed in the center of the camp in order to protect them. Huo Yuhao dashed straight towards the center of the camp with both of his eyes shining with a golden color. The daily maintenance and surveillance work for the area did not require many people. It was only during war when they required everyone to be working at any point in time. Hence, most of the soul engineers were congregated at the resting area. That was why Huo Yuhao chose to strike this area first. At the very instant when he stepped into the camp, a mysterious spiritual ripple spread out from his body. He was immediately detected by the spiritual power detectors as the alarm within the camp went off. However, this would not be sufficient to stop him. Huo Yuhao activated his Eye of Destiny, as his spiritual power was increased to its maximum. At this very instant, the entire resting area was within his control. As the saying went, a commander must not go easy on the enemy soldiers. As the chief commander of Shrek City's 3 Soul Engineer Legions, he had to be responsible for the safety of his troops, and more importantly, the hope and future of three empires. Hence, he must not be merciful against these soul engineers. After hearing the deafening alarm, the soul engineers within the resting area jumped up. However, an overwhelming spiritual power attacked them from within their minds. Spiritual blast. Huo Yuhao's spiritual power was almost invincible. Even Du Buzi had commended him on his spiritual power, which was on par with that of a transcendent Doluo, before his death. With Tang Wutong's support and their Haodong power, his spiritual power had received another significant boost. This was Huo Yuhao's first time performing such a powerful spiritual blast. This video will end here.